I've been in real estate since 16 with Keller Williams. Started out as a single agent, did about 9 million my first year at an average sales price of about 175. I had two business partners that we were friends at the time. We decided to build a team. We were looking for a platform and everybody else was on Boomtown. So we jumped on Boomtown and had a horrible experience and met a buddy of mine, Jason Abrams. He recommended CINC to us. So we jumped on CINC and we haven't looked back. So we went from individual agents doing I did probably about $25 million to building a team that did over $100 million last year. Since then, we've expanded into 4 different market centers across Alabama. I bought 2 market centers, so I've got 3 different brokerages now. And honestly, I contribute a lot of that to CINC. I mean, it really gave us a platform to work off of and build, get recognized. So it's been phenomenal.
I think what we've heard about right here is you've got a really cool experience in terms of the rapid growth that you guys have been able to experience. I think one of the things in the market is there are certain lead sources that you can grow with. And then there's certain times where in order to grow so quickly, I guess inorganic channels like PPC lead generation, right, can really kind of help fuel that. I know there's some people have philosophy, hey, I just want to do things with Sphere, or I just want to kind of mess with pay after closing. Can you kind of speak to your philosophy in order to be able to grow as quickly as you have, how you think about different lead generation channels?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with Keller Williams, we're trained to focus on our Sphere. That's the cheapest lead, right? But at some point, that Sphere base, it runs out. Another thing is what we found is that is our main focus is our Sphere and our church base. But when you're wanting to grow a business, you've got to have some leverage to attract new agents. And so what we tell people is, look, CINC is our platform that we work off of as far as lead generation. It doesn't encompass the whole team, but it's a major part of it and it's a bonus. So we utilize it to, with the growth, you get leads once you have 300 people in your database. So it's something that we can hold people accountable to, seeing the back end on who's really hungry and who's willing to work and being able to route those calls to the right people. It gives you a better return. The back end of this thing is beautiful. So it's really worked good for us.
One of the other things you were talking about is expanding in different markets. And I know there are kind of some unique challenges there, whether, getting recruiting agents, right, in those markets and also, kind of starting from the ground up. Can you kind of speak to your experience and how you've been able to leverage CINC in developing those new markets?
Yeah, so expansion is not something for the faint of heart. And you better know your game. You better know your cost of sale. You better know your platform. And in order to really do it, and we've screwed it up. So, we've always fell forward. Success is a curse. Failure is a blessing. And so, and through this, having a platform that how it operates, and you can pick it up and put it in a different place and it works the same way every time. You got to have that. 2, having a hub that is managing multiple sites and having one person that can look in the back end of your platform and see who's working and who's not working and manage that with one click of a mouse is really nice. Being able to know what your cost per lead is across the whole state is beautiful. The way we decided, first we had to identify talent, right, before we expanded, and we had to have the money for CINC. If we didn't have 6 months of money put back for CINC, we weren't launching, even with good talent. Another thing is, even when we've gotten low on agents in different markets, it's beautiful because I can go in and convert a lead and flip a referral over and pay for the whole system with one referral. So it's been great. Expansion, you better know your game and know your numbers. And we've been able to do that with you guys.
And I think to follow up on that, when you have the additional markets and the platforms there, it sounds like you guys do have a recommended system that works for the people who work it the right way. How do you leverage the system, and just in general, how do you hold people accountable and train people up on using what you've seen work from a process and technology standpoint?
Well, I mean, we use Switchboard Sarah. We know that the speed to the lead is the kicker in this. And we know that, the average person searching on online lead systems, they're on 5 to 7 different platforms. So the person that jumps on that call the quickest is got the highest probability. I always tell people, hey, you either answer really quick or you get to chase them for 11 to 12 days. So which one do you want? And so that Switchboard Sarah that you guys offer we've got on each one of our platforms. We love it. And being able to, if somebody's busy with a client, it's no big deal. We'll route it to the next person. I'm on one of the platforms and I have a really hard conversation if I get the privilege of speaking to that client. Because if I get the privilege of speaking to that client, that means that I've got 10 people or 5 people, depending on which area, aren't doing their job. So that conversation is not real nice.
One of the other things, if you've got people in the market, is, okay, how do I make sure my agents are prioritizing their time well in terms of going back? You've got so many calls you're going to make. How do you make sure you're calling the right people in the database? Can you speak to, I guess, how you guys leverage filters and mining the database to make sure you're aligning your team's activities to the most valuable leads?
Yeah, so we do 12 days of pain. And so that's what we call it. Each person only gets 100 people in their bag or their bowl or whatever we want to call it. They get 100 people. And so if you got to contact that person 12 days in a row or until you have a communication with them. And so you can't just keep buying leads and handing leads off and people not working them. People say all the time, these are, not, if they don't answer right away, then they're bad leads. We've converted people that have been in our pond for over a year. We've sold houses to Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, all the explicit words that we get. They're real people. And it's a matter of holding those people accountable to make the calls. The leads are good. It's just the follow-up. We always say the fortune's in the follow-up. So each one of our agents is supposed to be doing 2 hours a day. And we know, based on looking at the back end, they're not consistently doing that. And I coach agents as well. And it kills me, statistics show where like 85% of the leads that are sold aren't even contacted one time. I've got agents the other day that sat down with the lead system and it wasn't CINC. And then, they're talking about, well, I'm so surprised they answered the phone. I'm like, I'm so surprised you called them because you hadn't been calling your leads. So, it's amazing people pay for stuff and don't work it. So.
Well, and then, the other thing we hear is, hey, the talking to an online lead's a little bit different than talking to somebody who's referred over to me or somebody who came in through Zillow. You've been doing this for a while. Can you kind of speak to, I guess, the mistakes you see a lot of newer, greener agents make in terms of following up with online? Like, what separates great follow-up with an online lead versus average ho-hum follow-up?
Yeah, as far as the follow-up, what I've always done is I'll make notes, and that's one of the big things in your platform, making notes. And so having that specific information they give you to follow up with them, because it shows them that you listen. And people get so scared. I'm like, hey guys, look, they can cuss you out, they can hang up, or they don't answer, or they talk to you. And a lot of it's just mindset. But I think that the follow-up is, the younger agents that we see, they don't like to have conversations. They want to text, which that's all good, but texting, it doesn't equate to a conversation. So I think it's knowing who your client is and knowing how they communicate and making sure that follow-up. We ask specifically in our question, hey, listen, I want to make sure I utilize your time the best. What mode of conversation would you like me to text you, call you, email you? What's your preferred follow-up? So making sure that we ask specific, because if you want to know, you have to ask the question. So utilizing the notes and following up consistently is, it's name of the game.
I think kind of going along with leveraging the database and the notes. So there's a component of you've got to be able to call and still follow up there. One of the other things, right, we know a lot of the team leaders and brokers there is it enables them to kind of duplicate efforts of their agents through some of the automations and the
Right.
nurture. All that's to get back to a phone call. Can you
Right.
kind of speak to your experience of what you've seen work well in terms of automations being able to help kind of your team's efforts?
Before, we use drip campaigns a lot that you guys have set up. And then what's it been, 3 years, 3.5 years since y'all have had your AI really up and running hard? That AI is phenomenal. And I've really seen that it turns that cold call into a little bit warmer, follow up. Our agents are saying, hey, listen, it's not taking me near as long, to get a face-to-face meeting. So that's been really helpful is the AI. And anytime anybody asks me about it, that's a no-brainer. Anybody they ever talk to, man, that's a slam dunk. You got to do that.
And I think the other thing you were talking about in your different markets there, I don't know how much you've seen this in the markets you're in Alabama, but we know particularly in the South, the overall trend of people moving at a much bigger distance, particularly like out of state, people coming down to the South. Can you kind of speak to, I guess, how working with out of state leads, to out of state buyer leads, like how that's changed, how you've leveraged CINC and working those types of leads?
Well, so my sales hub is out of Tuscaloosa, which we have University of Alabama. My brokerage, KW Auburn, Opelika, obviously Auburn University. I also have KW Montgomery, which is a huge military base. And so all three of those, it's crazy the reach that we get through the platform. We talked about Sphere, that's people we're doing life with. We know them.
Yeah.
People from New York, California, Atlanta. I mean, they're coming in from everywhere, especially, Lake Martin. I mean, used to, I wouldn't answer my phone call, from these long distance numbers and stuff. And now they're leads constantly. I thought it was spam, but, we're getting tons of leads from that for sure. There's one thing that we hadn't talked about and really differentiated the whole thing with Boomtown and you guys. Boomtown, they onboarded us and I thought, man, we're about to make a ton of money. And it went pretty well for the first 30 days. We were trying to figure out everything. As soon as we were onboarded, it was like we couldn't get them on the phone. And I'm telling you, we were set adrift out at sea with no way of getting back. And we raised concerns with them and raised concerns with them. And, they threatened I think it was $7,500 fine to cancel the contract and all kind of stuff. But the one thing that differentiates you guys are the training that they offer at CINC. It's been phenomenal. Anytime we need a class, our rep is there on spot. And we've had a couple little glitches early on. Everybody took care of it and it's been great. We couldn't ask any better as far as customer service. You guys are leaps and bounds better than anybody else we've used.
We appreciate it. I know we're coming up on the top of the hour here. Jen, any additional questions you had on your end?
This is more just curiosity. I was interested. We had a webinar recently about diversifying your lead gen spend. And I was just wondering what worked best for your team and why you would recommend maybe diversifying that leads gen spend.
As far as that, honestly, Jonathan, early on, I'd call him and just say, hey, listen, our leads are not performing like they were. Can you guys look at changing stuff on the back end? And they said, yeah, absolutely. And then when we first signed on with Boomtown, all of our leads were Facebook, social media, and they were just junk. And that was one thing I told Jonathan early on. It's like, look, we got to get some good stuff. And so the Google click where, all that stuff, I left that up to them. I said, look, we just need performance. So y'all do whatever it is you want to do on the back end, ad spend wise. But if we're not getting it, we're going to have to flip it around. And that's one thing they've always done. And anytime it's dropped off, it's just a call. And I have my agent say, hey, I don't know what you did, but tell them to keep doing it. So another thing is we had Vulcan 7, we had, Cole Realty Resources. We had we had a Mojo Dollar. And about 2 years ago, Gary said, hey, listen, y'all need to really look at where you're spending your money. And all of our agents said, hey, listen, if y'all are cutting stuff, if you cut CINC, we're leaving. Everybody wanted CINC. So that's pretty strong coming from the agents.